Hello and welcome. It's me again, Barry. Basically, I thought while I'm making them up, I'd actually show you how to make a basic wire tray setup for Pike or Zander. So what we'll do is just run you through the very basics. Now, I know there's people out there who know how to make a wire trace quite easily. They've been doing it for years, but there are beginners also watching that don't know or may not know or not entirely sure. Everyone has a slightly different way of tweaking the type of trace that they like to do. This is just my way of doing it, and I do tweak it from time to time, and I do have different lengths and I do have different size hooks, and sometimes I don't use crimp covers, but today I'm going to show you how I'm going to do a basic pike setup. Okay, right, so I've got some components. First of all, you need some wire trace. I'm not going to go into brands. There's many different types of brands, and I've got loads of different brands that I like. I've got Drenham ones, Terry Euston's crocodile cable, some Gray's Prowler. I also like to use Fox stuff, and there's also some stuff from France that I like to use where I used to work before. Now some people like to twist their traces, so use a twiddling stick, and what they'll do is they'll twist the trace on itself at a join, and they'll heat it up, and I'm not entirely happy with that. I did it years ago and I had it open up before on a Zander. Maybe I didn't do it right. It was in the beginning of my Predator career. I probably didn't do it right, like I say, and it's just not giving me very much confidence. It's probably something I'd do if I didn't have crimps, but my mate showed me how to use crimps many years ago. There's many different varieties in this box. It's not just the Gray's Prowler ones. There's all many different. This is my odds and end box, but I normally, I'll be honest, I do use either the Prowler ones, which are really nice, and I do use the Drenham ones, but there are many different brands out there. So you need some crimps, some trace wire, some trace blades. Again, there are many different brands out there. These ones are really good ones. These cut really true. They do quite a good job. I've also got some crimping pliers in the groove. Don't know if you can see that because of the light, but in the groove you'll see that there's two grooves, a large and a small. I'll be using the small today, but large is for obviously for larger traces. Maybe if you was going to make spinning traces for large jerk bait, something like that, where you'd use a larger than average crimp, because crimps do come in different sizes. And I've got some trace covers. Okay, again, they're optional. I like them because it gives a nice neat job, but again, it also depends on the situation that I would actually use those. And then also the last thing is the trebles. Now the trebles come in many different shapes and sizes and colours, and different types of bends on the hook. These ones are, I think, some very old Savage Gear ones, size 8s, semi-barbless. Now some people use fully barbed. I don't like it. I hate it. I either use barbless or semi-barbed, depending on situation, but today I'm using semi-barb. So what we'll do is we'll get on with making the trace. Let's move this completed trace out for a moment. So the first thing we need to do is take some wire. I'm going to use the Gold Label. This is £30 Gold Label tackle crocodile cable. I absolutely love this stuff. I used it for many years. This is my last spool. This is £30. I did have it in 20. There's not many places you can buy it now. So I'm just going to pull off. I've got a ruler here. I want my trace to be roughly around 18 inches. Some people go a bit bigger, like 24 inches. I watched a video many years ago, and it said that a perfect circumference of a £30 pike is 18 inches. So the pike wouldn't be able to get the trace back in its mouth again if it was to go around its head. I don't know how true that was, but I just remember seeing it in a video. I think it might have been Gould Burton. Someone had said it in a video, and it's just stuck in the back of my mind. So I always use 18-inch wire trace, but I will extend if I'm using live baits or whatever. It depends on the situation, but a good solid start is 18 to 20 inches. You don't really want to go any shorter unless you're going to put it on a paternoster, but that's for another time. So I'm just going to cut some of this off, this wire off. Oh, there we go. Let's just put that out the way. Okay, so first things first, some people like to go twice around the eye of the hook. Now I don't like to do that, I just go the once. So first things first, I'm just going to get a crimp, if I can pick it up, and I'm just going to slide the crimp on. Okay, I start from the hook, the top hook first, and then work my way back to the swivel. Some people do it the other way round. Now, take a hook. Okay, so you got the crimp sliding on the trace. Take the hook. Oh, it's quite difficult to do on camera. Okay, slide it on, so it's just sliding. Same with the crimp, and then just bend it and double it back on itself. Like so. Okay, so you want to leave yourself a tag end. So if I show you how that looks. Okay, so you just pull the tag end down tight. Now you could let it free roam. Now, like I say, I have two different tray setups. I have ones with crimps with the sleeves, making it a nice and neat job, and I have some without the sleeves. So the ones without the sleeves, I like to leave a gap so it moves around a lot. And the reason why I like that is when the pike are a bit finicky and you're missing bites, I find they catch quicker. They've got that movement, that expression of movement, so they catch a lot quicker. But what I'm going to do is, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to sleeve them off. I think it gives them a nice, even, neat finish. I tend to use sleeve ones more for dead baiting on the bottom. The ones I like to have catching are more for, say, live baiting. So, or suspended dead baits in the water. I find it catches the pike a lot quicker. And if you pull, when you give the strike, 1, 2, 3 strike, sometimes when you pull it and it goes into the pike's jaw a lot easier. Basically, it catches it. So anyway, I'm going to put it tight because I'm going to sleeve it over. So I want it to be really neat, really tight. Okay, so I'll take the crimps pliers. Okay, and put it on the smallest setting. Try and get it in the middle if you can. Yeah. Pull this down and then crimp. You don't need to go mental. Just need to crimp it nice and neat. So let's give it a nice even crimp now. Now I've noticed that crimp's just slightly big for the sleeve, but I don't think that's a problem. So what we do is we take our trace blades. Be careful not to cut the wrong part of the trace, and just trim off the end, the tag end, like so. Okay, so that's one completed crimp. So what we're going to do is quickly take a trace. We're going to quickly take a sleeve and put it over the top. These are Prowler sleeves. Sleeves by Prowler are fantastic. This one's going to be really, it's going to be naughty to get on because I've used quite a large, twist it around on myself. Be careful not to hook yourself. I've used a large crimp, that's why. If I had thinner crimps, they'd go on a lot easier. So it's not perfect, but it's on now. Okay. If you use smaller crimps, you can actually pull it right up tight and it's a neater job. But because I use a slightly larger crimp, it's hard because it's such a snug fit. But you can actually buy, there's a new one on the market that I haven't bought yet. The Denim sleeves. They seem to be a bit more, they're more translucent. They do them in like an olive brown, and also do them in red. But they're translucent and they look slightly wider, so they can go on slightly larger traces. Well, anyway, that's one completed crimp. So what we're going to do is put the second treble on now. This is a slightly different process. Okay, so you take your second treble, the end of the wire. Okay, now if you look at the treble, you can see the eye of the hook. Yeah, if you can see that. So you've got the eye of the hook. Now what you want is you want to hold the bottom hook and have the two treble bits facing upwards. Because if you were to do it somewhere else, can you see the eye sits at an angle? Every time you move it around, the eye sits at an angle. You want the eye sitting flush, so it sits flat, and that's where you go through the back of it. Now if you go through the back of it, That's going to give you a perfect sit when you start to twist the trace around on itself. So what we do is we get the length, desired length, depending on the size of the dead bait or live bait or whatever you're using. I like to have my hooks slightly closer. I think when they're further apart, you've got a chance of the first hook going down the back of the throat a lot more. I think when they're closer together, and okay, you might miss a bite, but I also believe you've got quite a good hookup rate. I always have a good hookup rate. I rarely lose fish. I do lose fish, but I have a real good hookup rate. And I find when they're closer together, you can catch the corner of the mouth more. Okay, it's almost like if you look at the bottom of a squid lure, it's got 100 hooks all quite close together. And it's just got a better hookup rate. So anyway, that's about the sort of size. I'm going to bring the other one in just to get, yeah, it's roughly there. Okay, so this is the twiddly bit there, the fiddly bit. So what you want to do is hold the trace and the bottom treble, and then pull using your finger back on itself around the hook. Okay, now it's quite, sorry about the focus on this, it's quite I'm going to show you how it looks. Okay, so you go round and over the top, and then what you do is you twist it around the second treble. Okay, hold it with your thumb and forefinger. You've got to be really dexterous to do this, and then back through the eye, the top of the eye, and pull down. Okay, and what that'll do is that'll give you a nice fixing of the treble on the hook. Okay, there are many other ways you can attach that. Sometimes I put a crimp up. Sometimes I put a crimp up the sleeve. Sorry, up the wire. Okay, I'll cut a second piece of wire off, double it over, and almost like I've done with the first hook, the first treble, and I'll actually have it jumping on the line. It's really, it's an unusual way of doing it. But what it does is, again, it gives it the freedom of movement, like how I showed you earlier on the first hook, if you wasn't using sleeves. The reason why I'm using this method is because I'm going to put a sleeve over the top of it. So we'll take one of our sleeves, again same like the first one, pull the sleeve over. Remember, these are semi-barbless hooks, so you've got to be really careful. Okay, and then you put it over the sleeve, gives it a nice neat job, nice neat finish. That little bit of red as well. You know, every predator angler likes to use red bait tags, which I have as well. Just there. You can use red bait tags. These are Fox ones. You get them free. Some you get free with the Angler's Mal. You get them all different places. There you go. And they just hook on the treble. Sorry, on the treble hook where it's got the barb. And what the barb will do is it acts as two things. It acts as a sight indication, almost a target point for a fish to attack. Adds the colour of red, which all predator anglers like to use. I don't know if it's superstition or if it actually is true and it works. And also, if you was to lip hook the fish or just nick the fish and then put the bait flag on, it'll actually hold it on for you. I'm kind of one of those skeptical people who thinks that, you know, they work or not. Sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. Okay, so down to the end of the wire. So what we want to do with the wire is just measure the length. Okay, so I've got a ruler here, so that's 12, 18, and then I make a little nick, not a nick, but I just loop it over so it's got my depth, it's got the length for me. Now this is the bit you want to remember. Sometimes I forget to put this sleeve on. Now you want to do this point is you want to put the sleeve on back to front. It's a bit fiddly. Put the sleeve on back to front and then pull it up and then pull it out of the way. That's one part done. Then you get the second crimp. It's almost like doing the first hook, but you're doing it back on itself. Take the second crimp and then you take the swivel. Now swivels, before I put the swivel on, swivels and put it in palm of my hands and you might be able to see it better. Oh, there we go. This is a diamond eye swivel. It's got one end with a circle and one end with a diamond eye. You can use a plain swivel, but if you reuse swivels, you've got to be really careful, because if you've got two round swivels, the part you had the wire on could actually rough up the inside of the ring. So if you don't remember what side you pull it on, if you're reusing a swivel, what can happen is if you have it on the mono side, next time round it could go through the knot, it could rough the knot up, it could weaken the knot. So I like these diamond eye swivels because what it does is it gives you two different distinct options. What I do with the diamond eye part, so the enclosed eye, is I like to use that on the wire trace, so it leaves a round part. You see the round part just drop in now. Leaves a round part for me to tie my mono on, or braid on, mainline. So what you want to do is just pull it through, tighten it down. Okay, there we go. So just tighten it down so it's trapped just like the first treble you did, like so. Take your trace crimpers in the first hole and then just gently crimp. Just give it one quick clamp and that's it. You don't need to go mental, you ain't got to put a million pressure on it. And then just cut the tag end off like you did earlier on with the first treble. Okay, almost complete. And then all you do is we put the sleeve on back to front, that way when you pull it up it's sitting the right way. I like to put it around my hand and just pull it up. When you're making trebles, especially you youngsters out there, if you're watching this, you've got to be very, very careful about trace, you know, very, very careful with the actual trebles going into your fingers. If you get trebles in your fingers, trust me, I've had it happen before, especially when I was going lure fishing. You've got to be very, very careful. For my advice to beginners is just start off with barbless trebles, or buy semi-barbs and crush down that barb. You know, for you youngsters and you beginners, crush down that barb, and then you've got fully barbless. If it goes in, you can pull it out. Trust me, it's not nice when even a barbless hook goes in your hands, but you got peace of mind, you can pull it out, because trust me, if you need a pair of pliers to rip that hook out of your hand, it hurts, or you might have to end up in A&E, so it's not a very good thing to do. So my advice to you is to use barbless, and till you get confident with handling pike, making traces. I mean, I did it for a good year and a half before I even considered using any barbs on my pike fishing at all. Even on my lures I'd crush them down, but it's the barb does work for you, trust me, when you finally do get used to it. But this is the complete untrace. Okay, so if I move that out of the way, you can see it. It's 18 inches long. Okay, there we go. That's a completed trace. My other trace there is exactly the same length. Just to show you, you can buy winders, you can use toilet roll holders, you can use those kind of things if you want to put your trace on. You can wind them around your fingers so you can keep them in a small container. These are some of the containers that I keep some. They're my paternoster ones. Maybe I'll show you them another day. These are my berry heel rigs. The reason why I call them berry heel rigs is because they are singles. They won't allow you to use trebles there on that particular venue, which again is probably good for beginners. So they're my berry eels. Then I've got loads of singles, doubles, partridges, more treble traces made up. I like to keep my things nice and neat. That's one. I've got a second one. I make loads of traces up at a time. That's my second one. That's my odds and ends one. That's the one I take most places. I've got loads of different trace wire. There's some Eddie Turner trace wire, 7 strand stainless steel. Sorry, 49 strand stainless steel. That stuff's it's so supple, but it's tough and it's stainless steel. You've got to be really careful. Most people use them for lure making, but I'll only use these. These are partridge trebles. One that Gordon Burton used to use years ago. I think they were salmon trebles. They're when I go to, if I ever go somewhere like one of the big locks. So anyway, I was going to say thanks for watching. This is a basic trace making tutorial. If there's any questions, just don't hesitate to comment below. Please like and subscribe my channel, and please follow me on Facebook, and hopefully I'll be back out on the bank. Peace out.